Welcome back to Sissy Maira. Make sure to subscribe to our channel to never miss an update. Additionally, consider subscribing to my Patreon to get access to these features, and much more.
Good evening, Maira. Farewell, Ryan. Happy birthday, Jess, exclaimed his Aunt Nancy as Dylan Rotter shut the door on his party attendees. Thank goodness the whole affair is done, Dylan reflected, finding family gatherings to be challenging. At 19, he felt entitled to invite his own friends to his party, but the large gathering was a family custom. All his relatives, spanning aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, cousins, and their spouses, congregated whenever there was a birthday. The routine never changed, the women upstairs sipping tea, the men downstairs enjoying beer. This family, he thought, feels stuck in the 1950s. Nevertheless, Dylan was grateful that his parents weren't as old-fashioned as the others. Dylan, could you step into the living room, please? Dylan grinned as he entered. Mrs. Maira Rotter sensed her son's eagerness for the gift he was expecting from his parents. She wished she could reward him immediately for enduring the party. She could see his discomfort. However, this birthday held special significance for her son, and she wanted to discuss things with him before he made any impulsive decisions. Dylan, she began, do you know why this birthday is particularly special? Of course, Mom, he replied, I'm 19, supposedly a man with more responsibilities, yada, yada, yada. But what about the gift? He flashed a grin. Maira chuckled. You always cut to the chase, don't you, Dylan? No. This year I'm not going to give you the usual lecture on responsibility. If you haven't learned it by now, you'll face the consequences. Then why is it special, Mom? Dylan hoped for a good present. There's an old superstition about reaching the age corresponding to the day you were born. Maira began. Dylan looked puzzled. What was she going on about now? You were born on February 19th, 1978. You're turning 19 on the 19th. According to legend, you can make a wish on this day and it may come true. What? He was astonished. I know it sounds strange coming from us, but hear me out. Let me tell you a story and I'll explain why I'm mentioning this. Maira leaned forward. It all started in 1977. Ryan glanced up at the calendar adorned with a woman's portrait on his bedroom wall. She would make a fine birthday gift, he thought. April 18th, 1977, my 18th birthday. Today promises to be fantastic. A new car from Mom and Dad, a date with the school's most attractive girl, and a party with all my friends. What could be better? Thank goodness I managed to convince Dad to skip the family gathering this year. Snatching his jacket, Rob descended the stairs to find a set of keys affixed to the back of the door. Right on time, he remarked as he perused the note. To our grown-up boy with love, Mom and Dad. How cheesy. Well, it's still a car. He took the keys and ventured outside to behold his dream car, which turned out to be a disappointment. It was old, rusty, and seemed miles long. It was impossible to conceal his dismay as his mom hopped out and snapped a picture. Don't you love it? She inquired, still beaming. Yeah, Mom, it's great, he replied half-heartedly. Oh, and your friend Ralph called. He and Chris scored tickets to the hockey game, so they won't make it to the party tonight. Ralph mentioned it's the playoffs, so he knew you'd understand. Great, what else could go wrong? He deflated. Now off to school with you, don't want to be tardy. Things just kept going downhill. His new ride became the butt of jokes when he arrived at school. Then, there was a surprise pop quiz in English class which he bombed, and to add insult to injury, he found himself in an argument with Maira at lunch. That was the last straw. He couldn't handle any more. It's supposed to be my birthday, can't you cut me some slack for once? Ryan snapped. No. You've been behaving like a jerk all week, and I've had enough. Maira shot back. Hey, I didn't mean anything by it. I just like to show my appreciation for your beauty, he grinned. I'm a person, not a piece of meat. That's it, we're done, she declared. Come on, You don't want to break up? Would you really miss our cuddling? He tried to muster charm but failed miserably. This was bad. Dumped, on his birthday, in front of the whole school. It was too humiliating. Cuddling. All you ever want is to get into my pants with your pathetic excuses. Laughter erupted, and then came the final blow. I think I'll find a man instead of a boy, she said as she walked away. Ryan attempted to appear indifferent for the remainder of lunch, but he was deeply upset. How could she treat him that way? It was his birthday, for crying out loud. I wish she could experience the humiliation herself, he muttered. Then, he drifted off, lost in thought. Ryan gradually regained consciousness, feeling extremely unwell. His vision was blurry, making it difficult to focus, and his muscles felt unresponsive. Everything seemed strange. Are you all right, dear? A woman's voice, unfamiliar to him, asked. He struggled to speak, managing only a few incomprehensible groans. Do you know where you are? She repeated. Gradually, his eyes began to focus, revealing the familiar white walls and uninspiring health posters of the school nurse's office. Though everything appeared slightly off, he recognized his surroundings. The nurse's office, he croaked. Good girl. I knew you'd be all right. With all these girls dieting nowadays, it's a wonder more of them don't pass out. Girl. As his mind slowly made connections to his body, he sensed differences everywhere. His legs felt smooth and cool, that was the first thing he noticed. But that wasn't all, he felt a larger rear end, a sense of overall smallness, more hair, and the weight on his chest. He sat up abruptly, almost fainting again from the rush of blood to his head. There was no mistaking the face he saw in the nurse's mirror before him. It was Maira's face. He was Maira. I think I'll be all right now. Could I leave? Ryan, now finding himself in a female body, glanced at the mirror and felt an overwhelming urge to escape. Well, actually, your mother is here in the office to take you home. I'll accompany you there, the nurse replied. His mother. He couldn't face meeting Maira's mother as if nothing had happened. He'd often wished his parents would disappear, but not like this. Ryan struggled to his feet, nearly stumbling. He marveled at how different it felt to inhabit someone else's body. It wasn't just the change in gender that troubled him the most, it was the alteration in size, movements, vision, hearing, and all his other biological senses. He attributed the shift in colors of familiar objects to Maira's beautiful blue eyes replacing his own brown ones. Everything also seemed to have a stronger smell, though he began to wonder if Maira had a slight hearing impairment. It was a unique opportunity to experience human diversity, even if it wasn't one he would have chosen for himself. As Ryan walked down the hall, a woman rushed up and embraced him. Although he had never met her, he assumed this was Maira's mother. Are you all right, dear? When the school called and said you fainted, I nearly panicked. Do you know what's wrong? Do you still feel faint? Did the nurse give you anything? You didn't hit your head, did you? I hope. Ryan interrupted her ramblings. Mom, it's okay, really. All right then, but your father is waiting in the car and we're going home right now. He didn't see any way to avoid it. Okay, Mom. Let me just take it easy though, I still feel a bit queasy. Maira's mother escorted him outside to a luxurious, new car, where a man he assumed was Dad sat waiting. As Ryan settled into the back seat, the man turned and planted a kiss on his cheek, nearly startling him out of his new skin. How's Daddy's little girl? You feeling under the weather, Buttercup? Oh, goodness. No, Dad, I'm fine. Just need some rest. Buttercup, The man glanced back, puzzled. All right then, I'll just drive us home. You might want to cancel your plans for tonight, by the way. The reminder of the cancelled date stung, and Ryan mumbled a vague agreement. He remained silent for the rest of the journey home, lost in thought. What now? How could this have happened? Was he going to be stuck like this? By the time they arrived, he was feeling deeply depressed. Ryan headed straight upstairs upon arriving at his unfamiliar abode. Luckily, Maira had previously sneaked him in when her parents were away, so he managed to locate his bedroom. Carefully, he locked the door behind him and settled onto the bed. "I can't believe I'm in a girl's bedroom and I'm not even excited," he muttered to himself. "In fact, I could be feeling up a beautiful chick in a miniskirt and I wouldn't feel turned on at all." He began to laugh. The tension from the afternoon had built up so much that he had to laugh until tears streamed down his face before he could regain his composure and think clearly. His first step, he reasoned, was to figure out what had happened. He assumed it was the wish he made just before passing out. If it worked once, he thought, why not try again? I wish I were Ryan again. Nothing. I wish that my wish had never come true. Still nothing. What exactly had he wished for? He had wished to swap places with Maira. That meant she must be in his body. Picking up the phone, he dialed his home number. Maira gazed at the unfamiliar form reflected in the mirror. Odd, she thought, but being male isn't the worst fate that could befall me. No more periods, no more unwanted advances, no more being treated like a child at 18. It's not that I didn't want to be a girl, it's just a fresh opportunity, given that I'm stuck like this anyway. The real puzzle was how she had ended up in this predicament. She chuckled as she imagined Ryan's reaction upon waking up in a miniskirt. He must still be reeling from the shock, she mused. At that moment, the phone rang. "Ryan, it's for you," Mrs. Rotter called out. Ryan listened to the unfamiliar sound of his voice at the other end of the line. Well, it was sort of his voice, but it sounded like someone attempting to imitate him without quite nailing the pitch. "Hello, this is Ryan," he said. "Hello. You can drop the Ryan, it's me," Ryan replied bitterly. "Why, Maira, it's good to hear from you," he chuckled. "You sound a bit off. Is everything all right? Enough with the jokes, this isn't funny. Come over, we need to figure out what's going on and what to do next." All right. Don't panic. I'll be there in a few minutes." "Any idea what's going on?" Ryan hesitated. "Well, not exactly. Not exactly." Maira wondered. Did he actually know something? "What do you mean by not exactly?" Ryan felt embarrassed. "I kind of made a wish right before things switched." Maira was taken aback. "I had no idea you felt that way, Ryan," she giggled. "I never imagined you as the type for a sex change. I'm not some sort of. I just wished we could switch places so you could understand how you made me feel today, and this happened. I don't want to be a girl. I'm a guy, and I want my body back. I know you're not like that, Ryan. I'm just teasing you." "I'll be right over," she said, cutting him off before he could erupt again. She hung up the phone. As she grabbed Ryan's coat to leave, all Maira could think was, if I do figure out how to reverse this, would I really want to go back? Maira faced a challenge in convincing her parents to let her pass when she arrived. They weren't accustomed to a boy visiting their daughter in her bedroom. After some persuasion, Maira managed to convince them that she was worried about Ryan's health, and they reluctantly allowed her to go upstairs. Upon reaching the bedroom, Maira realized her concerns about Ryan's well-being were justified, though it was his mental state she was worried about. He appeared so distressed and despondent that she decided not to tease him further. There was no telling how he might react. "Are you okay, Ryan?" Maira inquired. Ryan approached and locked the door, now his own. "Do I seem okay to you?" "I'm a girl," he exclaimed. "All right, calm down. Let's figure out our next steps." Maira attempted to sound reassuring. "We need to explore our options." "What options?" He looked up hopefully. She believed honesty was the best approach. "Well, now I'm you, a male, and you're me, a female. We've both tried wishing things back to normal, and it's not working. I don't know of any scientific method to change us aside from drastic surgery, and I doubt our parents would approve of that. We should assume we're stuck like this and proceed from there." Ryan buried his face in his hands. "I can't be stuck like this. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to act. What will everyone think? I. He struggled to hold back tears, but they began to overwhelm him. First and foremost, Ryan, nobody is going to suspect a thing. They'll simply assume you're Maira. As long as you don't go around proclaiming you're Ryan, we can both keep this our little secret. I'd never breathe a word of it. It'd be too embarrassing. Plus, they'd probably think I've lost my mind. Good. You're starting to think rationally about this, she said, trying to instill confidence in him. I'll help you navigate being me until we find a solution. Everything will be okay. Ryan began to relax a bit. Maira knew it would be a challenging journey for him, but she vowed to support him every step of the way. Ryan needed her, and she wouldn't let him down. Now that your friends have cancelled your birthday plans, why don't we get started right away? Nobody's expecting us anywhere. Okay, what do I need to learn? It's not just you, Ryan. There are many things I need to learn from you too. We both need to master how to behave around everyone we know, how to walk, talk, and dress in these bodies, and most importantly, we need to learn to trust and rely on each other. I think it's going to be a long journey, Ryan, but I believe we're both capable of it if we stick together. Ryan smiled at her. Somehow, she knew everything was going to be okay. They spent the remainder of the night delving into each other's lives. Maira decided to postpone the How to Be a Girl lessons until the next day, no need to overwhelm him on the first night. Luckily, it was a Friday, so they had the entire weekend ahead of them to work things out. They quickly realized the importance of sharing information. On Sunday morning, Maira's father questioned Ryan about why he was addressing him as Dad instead of Daddy, fearing Maira was upset with him. Maira narrowly avoided being grounded when she discovered that Ryan was supposed to work on Saturday morning for a friend of his dad's. They also both recognized the challenge they would face on Monday morning when school resumed. Ryan had initially dreaded the lessons, fearing they would be an arduous ordeal. However, they turned out to be quite enjoyable. He found Maira's constant good humor and occasional teasing to be refreshing, making the learning process much more enjoyable. Despite still feeling upset, her presence significantly lifted his spirits. He was certain that without her, he would have spiraled into complete despair. As for Maira, she discovered she also enjoyed Ryan's company. She began to realize that his macho facade was mostly to impress his friends and his father. She admitted to herself that she didn't care much for his father. Even though she had only experienced a weekend in Ryan's life, she could already see how his father had instilled in him a distorted view of women. It made the situation even harder on Ryan, but Maira recognized his inner strength, which she deeply admired. Together, they conversed and laughed, momentarily forgetting about the challenges that lay ahead for both of them. Monday unfolded as a nightmare for Ryan. Already burdened with distress and despondency over his situation, he found himself confronted with a new challenge. The boys at school seemed to have taken it upon themselves to torment him. Wherever he turned, he endured unwelcome pinching, bra snapping, and, worst of all, crude remarks. It felt like everyone was shunning him, and he couldn't comprehend why. The only explanation he could muster was that he was behaving oddly and incorrectly. Seeing Maira during the day, who didn't seem to encounter the same issues, only deepened his suspicions. He felt like a failure. People seemed to be aware of something. How could he bring himself to confide in Maira? Every time Maira encountered Ryan on Monday, he appeared utterly miserable. She grew increasingly concerned. She had hoped he had acquired enough knowledge to navigate through, but evidently, he hadn't. What exacerbated her worry was her own relatively smooth experience. She felt a profound sense of guilt. Though things were peculiar, she managed to handle them. Her only significant issue was adjusting to grade 12 classes instead of grade 11. Yet, even in that regard, she proved to be a superior student to Ryan and appeared to be managing well. What neither of them realized was that Ryan's friends had conspired and decided to retaliate against Maira for her perceived mistreatment of him in the cafeteria the previous week. They had resolved to make her life a living hell, and they were succeeding admirably. Unbeknownst to them, they had targeted the wrong person. Ryan persisted in trying to navigate his new reality, but the challenges were overwhelming. Despite longing to be with Maira, he avoided her, unable to bear the thought of her witnessing his struggles. The loneliness weighed heavily on him. Though he recognized Maira's family as loving and kind, he remained a stranger to them. He struggled to engage in girl talk and felt like an outsider among Maira's friends. The mocking glances from other guys only added to his misery, and depression began to consume him. School itself wasn't too bad for Ryan. Having already completed the grade 11 material, he found some relief there. However, girls' physical education proved to be a nightmare. While everyone else seemed at ease, he felt painfully out of place. Constantly self-conscious about his body and mannerisms, he couldn't shake the feeling of being an outsider. It seemed as though his entire existence revolved around his problems. Within 3 weeks, he felt so drained that he feigned illness to his parents and confined himself to bed for 3 days. The thought of facing the world again was unbearable. Maira grew increasingly concerned about Ryan. His constant silence made him seem like he was fading into the background. Even in private, she struggled to draw him out, and he didn't even crack a smile at her jokes. What troubled her most was his withdrawal from everyone, including her. On her end, Maira was managing. Ironically, her concern for Ryan helped distract her from her own issues, allowing her to adjust more smoothly to her new life. Spending time with Ryan and his friends had also accustomed her to their behavior. However, she deeply missed her parents, longing for the comforting moments they shared, like curling up on the couch with her mom to watch a movie. Surprisingly, she even missed being called Daddy's little girl, a term she never thought she'd yearn for. In contrast, Ryan's parents appeared indifferent, seemingly unconcerned about his well-being. 3 weeks had passed since the switch, and suddenly Ryan had been absent from school for 3 days. Maira grew anxious. That's when she overheard a conversation. "We really have Maira running scared, huh?" Chris Wilson laughed. "She deserves it for how she treated Rob. I hope we've driven her out of this school," Ryan Miller replied. Suddenly, everything clicked. Maira knew she had to find Ryan. Maira hurried to her former home only to discover that Ryan was currently avoiding everyone. Even her parents seemed concerned about what they perceived as their daughter's withdrawn behavior. They extended an invitation for her to return the next day for a surprise birthday party for Maira Ryan. Amidst the chaos of her life, she had forgotten it was her birthday. "My birthday," she pondered, an idea forming in the back of her mind. Meanwhile, Ryan's mood sank even lower. On top of everything else, he experienced his first period today. Feeling trapped in his new identity, he believed he would never find happiness again. To add to his misery, Maira's, now his, mother insisted on an early rise and dressing him in a frilly dress. She insisted on taking him shopping, leaving him with no choice but to comply. The morning unfolded into a miserable ordeal of trying on dresses, skirts, undergarments, and other items he had no interest in whatsoever. He attempted to persuade Maira's mom to conclude the shopping spree early, but she persistently urged him to try on garment after garment. Her incessant glances at her watch only added to his irritation. Finally, they adjourned to a restaurant for lunch before heading home. Upon opening the front door of his new home, Ryan was greeted by shouts of surprise. A cake, candles, presents, and a sizable gathering of guests awaited him, and he realized it must be Maira's birthday. Despite his discomfort with the crowd, he managed to offer the necessary greetings before slipping away to his bedroom to seek solace. Suddenly, a knock interrupted his solitude. "Ryan, are you in there?" It was Maira. "Come in, I suppose," Ryan replied, his tone tinged with anger and despair. Maira cautiously entered. "Is it safe?" "Yes," he muttered. "You look utterly miserable." "How am I supposed to feel?" he erupted. "I'm trapped in the wrong body, the wrong gender even. I see no future, I'm wearing a ridiculous maxipad, and I'm expected to feign excitement for a birthday that isn't even mine. Sorry if I'm not cheerful enough for you. Take a breath. I understand the immense pressure you're under." Some of it applies to me too, you know? Ryan's emotions overwhelmed him, tears streaming down his face. I know, it's just, you seem to be handling it all so much better. I feel like such a failure. I can't be you. I can't fool anyone. I'm so isolated, and things just feel irreparable. Listen, Ryan, you're doing better than you realize. No one suspects anything beyond you being a deeply sad girl. And about the gang, I overheard them today. They've been targeting you as retribution for our breakup. That's why things have been so tough for you. I just wish you had told me, but then again, I should have noticed. I want you to understand that you're doing admirably. You're stronger than I could have ever imagined, bearing that burden alone. He gazed at her through tear-filled eyes. It's still not the same, Maira. I want my old life back. I'm not sure I can keep going like this. The desperation in his voice was palpable. Though she was growing accustomed to life as a guy, she recognized the need to intervene for Ryan's sake. Deep down, she realized she had developed feelings for him, and his well-being mattered most. Muttering quietly to herself, she whispered, I wish that Ryan and I switched bodies again. But a voice in her mind reminded her that wishes once made couldn't easily be undone. Realization dawned upon her. The power of birthday wishes was indeed real. Another thought emerged, tinged with hope that Ryan wouldn't resent this wish. I wish for Ryan to come to terms with his new life and find joy in the world once more. It was the most wonderful wish, darling, Maira beamed at her husband. Once I moved past my despair and apprehension, I discovered that this life could be enjoyable, and I also realized how deeply I loved your father. Ryan grinned at their son. We didn't waste any time getting married, and you're the delightful outcome of our happiness. Dylan found the story astounding, yet he couldn't shake his skepticism. His mother pressed on, since it's your special birthday, we wanted to share this with you so you could make an informed and responsible wish. His father chuckled. Although, not all unplanned things turn out wrong. Are you serious? Dylan asked, incredulous. Absolutely. Take it seriously, his mother insisted. With a grin, Dylan declared, then I wish to become a beautiful young woman just like my dad. In an instant, before their astonished eyes, Dylan transformed into a stunning young blonde woman. It wasn't what they had intended. If only he had believed them. Dylan gazed at his new feminine features, caught between shock and awe. Oh, Jess, I'm so sorry, his dad spoke slowly. We'll do everything we can to help you through this. For the next few minutes, Dylan's parents attempted to console him until he managed to excuse himself and retreat from the room. His mother intercepted him at the stairs. I wouldn't have told you if I had known it would be this difficult for you, Dylan. Trust me. Don't worry, Mom. What made you think it went wrong? He grinned. Don't mention this to Dad because I'm not sure he'll understand. This has always been my secret wish. As Dylan ascended the stairs, his mother regarded him with a quizzical expression before breaking into a smile. May all your dreams come true, Dylan.